Welcome back. Uh, Dr. Morrow yesterday gave a khutbah, the Friday sermon at the Islamic Center of Long Island, and he mentioned some very critical issues that are confronting the Islamic world. Let's watch that khutbah, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah. Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. Glory be to Allah, praise be to Allah. There is no God but Allah, and Allah is the greatest. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Oh Allah, bless Muhammad and his family. Oh Allah, bless his wives, his companions, his followers, and all of his faithful partisans. Syria, Iraq, Burma, Palestine, Somalia, Nigeria, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. The Ummah of Muhammad suffers. The Ummah of Muhammad bleeds. So what do? Go blow ourselves up? Gang rape women? Bulldoze churches? Blow up mosques? Destroy sacred sites? Hang imams? Crucify Christians? If this is what you are thinking about, you belong in one of three places, and I think you will all agree with me. A prison, a psychological ward, or a cemetery. There is no place in Islam for psychopaths. There is no place for rapists in Islam. There is no place for murderers and torturers in Islam. There is no place for terrorists in Islam. Our religion is Islam, peace and submission, not irhab or terrorism. We follow Muhammad, the praiseworthy. Muhammad, one worthy of praise. Not Muhadib, one who engages in terrorism, who terrorizes people. You are not fighting for Allah if you violate the book of Allah. You are not fighting for the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, if you violate his sunnah, his teachings, and his example. How can one determine if a person is a true mystic, a true arif or not? If he follows the Sharia. How can one determine if a person is a true mujahid or not? If he follows the Sharia. You are not a true mystic, a true arif, a true practitioner of tasawwuf unless you accomplish the wajibat and keep away from the haram. Likewise, you are not a true mujahid unless you respect the Quran, the Sunnah, and the Sharia. You are not a true mujahid if you kill civilians. You are not a true mujahid if you kill children. You are not a true mujahid if you kill women. You are not a true mujahid if you kill the elderly. You are not a true mujahid if you kill people who are ill. You are not a true mujahid if you disfigure the dead. You are not a true mujahid if you rape, enslave, and traffic women. You are not a true mujahid if you torture. You are not a true mujahid if you abuse, degrade, and humiliate prisoners. You are not a true mujahid if you kill prisoners. You are not a true mujahid if you kill people who try to flee. You are not a true mujahid if you deliberately destroy people's property. You are not a true mujahid if you rob and occupy homes. You are not a true mujahid if you destroy churches and monasteries. You are not a true mujahid if you destroy mosques and desecrate the graves of the prophets, alayhim salam, the sahabas radiallahu anhum, and the awliya salihin. And you are not a true mujahid if you violate the treaties and covenants that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, concluded with the Christian communities throughout the Middle East. You are not a true mujahid if you murder Muslims. the people of the Qibla, the people of La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah, simply because they belong to another school of thought, or simply because they do not agree with your twisted and deformed ideology. Not only are you not a mujahid, you are not even a Muslim if you believe that such crimes and atrocities are permissible in Islam. You have utterly and completely insulted God and His Messenger, alayhi salawatu wassalam. As Almighty Allah Azza wa Jalla warns in the Quran, there are imams that lead to heaven and imams that lead to hell. وَجَعَلْنَهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَدْعُونَ إِلَى النَّارِ. Beware then of the imams that call to the fire. Beware of the imams that call to the fire. Beware of the imams that call to the fire. I call for a collective return to Al-Quran Al-Kareem and its correct interpretation. I call for a collective return to the true Sunnah of the Prophet and its correct interpretation. I call for a return to true traditional civilizational Islam. I call for a return to the totality of Islam and all of its tolerance. I call for a return to Ahl al-Sunnah wal-Jamaat, Ahl al-Tasawwuf and Ahl al-Bayt. I call for a return to the unity and diversity of original, open-minded, and free-thinking Islam, the Islam that dominated the Muslim world until the fall of the Ottoman Empire, and not this deviant takfiri disease that has been spreading for the past 200 years. There is a disease in our ummah. It is a disease that is not indigenous to Islam. It is a foreign disease that is alien to Islam. It originates from the outside and not from the inside. While it was once localized, it eventually became epidemic. The health crisis has reached a point that we must declare a pandemic. Ya Muslimin wa ya Muslimat, ya Mu'minin wa ya Mu'minat. Have you inoculated yourselves against the disease of fundamentalism, literalism, extremism, and fanaticism? Have you vaccinated your children against the scourge and ravages of takfirism? The only cure to hatred is love. The only cure to hatred is love. Wallahi, the only cure to hatred is love. Have we forgotten that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-wudud, the most loving? Have we forgotten that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-adl, the just? Have we forgotten that Allah is ar-Rahman war-Rahim, the most compassionate and the most merciful? The Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, was sent as a mercy to the world, the Rahmatul Alameen. When people think of Islam, they should think of justice, peace, mercy, and compassion. Instead, they associate Islam and they associate us, Muslims, with death and destruction. Let us reclaim the true identity of Islam and denounce those who have deviated from its path. We stand with Islam, not with ISIS. We stand with Islam, not with ISIS. We stand with Islam, not with ISIS. And since this is Ashura, the 10th day of Muharram, let us remember Al-Hussein ibn Ali, the grandson of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, who was killed by the ISIS of his time. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim. Allahumma barik Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار.
So you just watched the khutbah and you gave that khutbah, Dr. Morrow, yesterday, and you mentioned about the various challenges that the Muslims are facing and which is directly impacting the image of Islam. Before you address that, and I want to say if you can focus on your the Covenants initiative that you're leading, and which is what exactly you were, I think, referring to yesterday as well. So, can you explain what the Covenant initiative is and then throw some more light on what you said yesterday?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a scholar, so I conduct research and I publish books, and then I continue on to my next project. However, in this case, something different happened. A man by the name of Charles Upton, who was a Muslim, he's a scholar of Tasawwuf or Sufism, who's authored over a dozen books. He's a famous American poet as well. He approached me and he said, this is not just a book. I see this as a potential movement. And so he conceived of this initiative in which we call upon Muslims to abide by the covenants of the Prophet in their dealings with Christians and other non-Muslims. So it's an initiative aimed at Muslims, a way of disassociating ourselves with people who soil the image of Islam and the Quran and the Prophet. And so this initiative has been signed by many prominent Muslim leaders, Sunni scholars, Shiite scholars, Sufi scholars, also by Muslim and non-Muslim academics, as well as a long list of activists. So we have over 150 or 200 signatures, and some people might say, well, what's that? But in reality, a lot of these people are imams, and they're leaders, and they're presidents of universities, and so on. So if an imam endorses an initiative, he's endorsing that initiative on behalf of his congregation. Okay, so, in reality, we're not dealing with just hundreds, we're dealing with thousands and tens of thousands of supporters.
How are you soliciting support for this initiative?
Well, the Covenants Initiative could be signed on our website, covenantsoftheprophet.com. There's a link to it on the very first page. They can go there. And this is open to anyone who is a Muslim, right? That, we will respect the words and, the commands and the teachings of our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, what he taught us when it comes to dealing with non-Muslims. And, there's nothing in these covenants which disagrees with the Quran, with the Sunnah, with the Sharia, with Islamic jurisprudence. What we're doing is we're reviving and resurrecting and reinforcing the Sunnah. So this is an initiative aimed at Muslims, but we also have another initiative which is aimed at the general public. And so we appeal to all people. Since the very beginning, we've been approaching Christian communities throughout the Middle East, these communities that are being persecuted, and we've reached out to all the Christian leaders of the West. Pope Francis gave his blessings. We received the blessings of Patriarch Theophilos the third, Patriarch Bartholomew, the Holy Fathers from the monastery of St. Catherine in the Sinai in Egypt have given us their blessings. Leading Muslim scholars as well, Al-Sheikh Al-Habib Ali Al-Jifri from the Taba Foundation, the Grand Muftis from all over the Muslim world. We have political endorsements.
What impact is it bringing in? I can see and I have seen online a lot of stuff is available.
Yes,
online, but what exactly is the impact and what results are you looking at?
Yes. Well, we're concerned about the image of Islam. If we just sit around and we say nothing, it gives the impression that we are complicit in the crimes of these people. We have to disassociate ourselves from them and say they do not speak for us and they do not represent Islam.
So you are referring to those people who are using violence in the name of religion to achieve their objectives, like Daesh and other terrorist groups?
Yes, indeed. We approach Christians as an act of chivalry, saying, we are Muslims, how can we help? What can we do? And so they were very supportive of this initiative, and they've helped to disseminate these books. One of their leaders, Francis Calabat, who was a bishop from the Chaldean church, asked us if we could create a genocide initiative. Namely, if we could use our influence in order to pressure policymakers and politicians and government leaders to describe the actions of ISIS as crimes against humanity and genocide. Many people have signed this initiative, the Genocide Initiative. It's available.
It's also available online.
It's available on change.org. Just Google Genocide Initiative, change.org, and we would encourage you to sign it. Many people have done so already, and we have seen the fruits of our labor. A resolution was presented in Congress.
The U.S. Congress?
In the U.S. Congress, that would, doing exactly that, describing the actions of ISIS against religious minorities and ethnic groups as genocide. We want to hold these people accountable for their crimes. Okay. Just like we hold Nazi war criminals and other war criminals accountable for their crimes, we do not want these people to get away with the atrocities that they've committed.
Dr. Morrow, we will continue this discussion, but we have to take a short break. So viewers will be back after a short break. Please stay with us.